I'm Normand Champigny. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Quebec Precious Metals. It's a pleasure to meet you today.
Normand, good to meet you. For the sake of the viewer, could you just give a quick background to Quebec Precious Metals, please?
So we're a Quebec-based company focusing on finding the next gold mine in the highly promising and prolific region of James Bay. We have the support of the largest gold producer in the world, Newmont, the largest pension fund here in Quebec, and other shareholders to do that. Our goal is to identify at least 2 million ounces in that region and have a company come and develop that project for us after that.
Great, thank you. And you've got a very varied background, and you work very closely with Jean-François Meyer, who's I think he's the president of the company. He was the ex-CEO until 2 or 3 years ago. How did you meet the company, and how did you come to work with it? And what was the decision process behind you becoming the CEO?
In 2017, I was running another company that had a gold project in the James Bay region. And I met Jean-François, who was running a company called Canada Strategic Metals at that time. And also I knew that his company was in joint venture on their flagship project, Sakami, with another company. And we thought it was very important that we have 100% ownership of the flagship project, Sakami. The best way to do that was to merge the two publicly trading companies, plus projects from the company I was running and other in the region to create a new company. So we developed that concept. We went to talk to Goldcorp at that time to support the transaction. They said yes. And in June of 2018, the company was officially created. And I was appointed as CEO, Jean-François as the president. We've appointed board members. And since that time, we've been working on the flagship project in the region to advance the company.
When I look at the share price chart of QPM, it goes back a long time. And I also, you've done rather amazingly. You've sold assets, almost $13 million Canadian worth of assets. Did those assets go back through the history of QPM, or was that something that you brought in with the merger?
Well, one of the public company, Matamec, had a number of what we call non-core assets, which were not gold, not James Bay. So since the creation of the company, we've been selling those non-core assets to have funds that we use for our exploration and running the company. So we had good success over time in selling those non-core assets, and we're down to one non-core asset that remains to be sold, and we expect to sell it in the next few months.
Through that sale process and the cash payments, the installation, in installments, will you be getting additional funds from that sale process of historic elements in the course of next year that you can see?
Well, we have yet to close the sale of the Kipawa Rare Earth project. That should be coming in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And then we have a 50% interest in a gold project called Matheson in Ontario, near a gold mine that is operated by Newmont. And we expect that to close, I would say, early next year. So those funds will be used for the company for its exploration.
And those will both of those deals, should they close, will bring in cash.
Correct.
Can you give me a quantum? Is it public knowledge yet?
Well, what we announced for Kipawa is a total of $8 million over 5 years, of which 2.5 is at closing, and another 2.5 in a year from now, and then $1 million over the 3 following years. For Matheson, we would expect in the order of $500,000, so 50% interest.
So potentially, I mean, you've got $3.5 million in cash at the moment. Is that right? And then you could potentially get another.
Yeah, that's right. That's to another 3. So
3.5 plus 3, and that will cover you through your drilling. You're doing a winter drilling program of 10,000 meters at the moment. Is that right?
That will cover that program plus all we need to do next year.
Okay, good. Can you tell me a bit about the relationship with Newmont? Because I see that they are a 12.8% shareholder. I just wonder what that dialogue is. Are they passive? Do they share information? Are they interested in what you're doing? Could you give me a bit of color on that relationship, please?
So at the creation of the company at that time, Goldcorp have agreed that as the anchor investor in the company, they have shareholder rights, and they have three of them. One is the right to have a technical committee, and we have a technical committee with them that meets every 3 months to review what we've done and help plan what we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
And it consists of technical people of Newmont, and that's very helpful. They've been also looking at our information, having in-house experts provide some advice. The second right they have is that if we do a financing, they have the right to match, and they've used that right in the past. And if we create a royalty, they have also a first right of refusal on buying such royalty that is created. So the relationship is very good. They are actively engaged with us, but at the same time, we are a company with its own board, its own decision-making process, and own program.
And for my benefit, can you tell me a little bit about the Éléonore mine that they're operating in the area, just in terms of its maturity and where it is? A little bit of color on that as well would be great.
So the Éléonore mine was discovered back in 2004 by a company called Virginia. It was sold to Goldcorp without a resource estimate in the public domain for $500 million. Goldcorp then came and developed it, and the mine has been in operation since 2014, and they keep doing exploration at the mine and around the mine since that time as well to find more. So it's a large mine. It's one of the largest underground mines in Eastern Canada. It's a very modern mine. Obviously, it's been in production only for a few years, and it still has a lot of potential. They've had some issues with the amount of ore they've been able to send to the mill, but they keep working hard to make it a very good mine.
And they've got a decent sized mill. And is it the problem that they've got to keep up with the development and the exploration to get the tons to the mill? Is that the challenge?
That's correct. That's the challenge. Yeah, that's a challenge they've had from essentially the start.
And is it roughly how many thousands of ounces does it produce a year? Do you know?
Well, it depends which year, but 250,000 to 300,000 ounces per year.
Okay. And it's are you looking for a lookalike deposit to that?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we're looking for it under Éléonore. We're looking to find the next Éléonore in the area. That's what we're looking for.
Okay.
And we're looking for by following a geological contact where the mine is located between two geological sub-provinces. That's how the mine was found. Yeah. We have a very good land position. We got 1,000 square kilometers approximately close to or along that contact. This is where you find gold. So we're looking to do the same thing to find another Éléonore. And like Virginia did, sell it to a developer.
What's the
gold mining company?
Let's say you're in the mine. What are you looking at? I mean, is it 10 meters wide? Is it 2 meters wide? Is it 40 grams a ton? Is it 5 grams a ton? Can you just describe kind of the style of the ore body? And is it structurally controlled? Is it steeply dipping, plunging chutes? What does an Éléonore ore body look like?
It looks like sort of low grade to high grade horizon that has been folded, metamorphosed quite a bit because of the metamorphic grade in the area. And at the mine, sometimes you have chutes or you have horizons or a combination. Where we are at Sakami, it's primarily in horizon, a well-defined horizon, which can go from 10 meters up to 100 meters. Very silicified, very hard rock with a little bit of sulfides, pyrite, arsenopyrite. And that's recognizable in drill core. And that's where we're after.
When you say 10 meters to 100 meters, in thickness or in these plunging chutes?
In thickness.
In thickness.
In thickness.
And
intersected by drill holes. And
grading.
The grade thickness, if you plot that, you can see some chutes, you can see some preferential plunging, but 10 to 100 meters are thickness. And the grade would vary from a few grams up to over 10 meters, sometime 7, 8 grams. Okay.
And are these typically, do you happen to know what the cutoff grade is at Éléonore? Is it 3 grams a ton? Is it 4 grams a ton?
They're running around 6 grams, and their cutoff is typically around 2.5 grams.
Okay.
This is for an underground mine. In our situation, we're looking for an open pit situation, and the cutoff would be around 0.3 for open pit.
Okay, good. So at Sakami, you've been working on the La Pointe zone, and you did a big summer program, as I understand it, and you haven't got the assays back yet from those summer drill holes.
Yeah, the program this year was divided into two parts. We have the La Pointe deposit, where quite a bit of drilling has been done, and we focus our drilling this summer to expand that. But what's really exciting is the La Pointe extension, which was discovered in 2020. And we've got approximately 30 holes into that. And we're currently drilling to extend that and test it at depth as well. We started in early November and we'll be finished early next year. That 10,000 meter program. And
in some of your earlier materials earlier this year, you were talking about doing a mineral resource estimate by the end of this year. Has that changed because of what you found at the point extension, or are you still aiming for a resource kind of estimate on what you've discovered so far?
Well, we are updating our 3D model, and we have two firms helping us with an internal estimate based on drilling as of the end of the summer. And then we'll add to that the winter drilling. But we are progressing internally our resource estimate with the help of these external consultants. And doing such modeling also helps us to direct the drilling program that we are currently doing. So our goal is by the end of the year, we'll have definitely some internal resource estimate, and then we'll decide when and if we disclose it. We don't have to, but we certainly are in that process.
At the end of this year, you'd have a kind of a understanding of where you've got to so far in your mineralized envelope with grades and tons.
Absolutely.
And then you've got the choice of expanding that mineralized envelope or the calculation to include the assays coming through from the winter drilling program.
That's correct. We have that option.
And you said that you can see the mineralization in core. It's pyrite, arsenopyrite, silicification. Is there a clear boundary to the edges of the mineralized zones? What's the change that you see? So you've got a drill hole through country rock, and then when do you know that you're in the good bits?
So the country rock is depending which direction you drill from, but typically it's metavolcanic rock, which intrusive rock, and then you get into the contact area, which has the sedimentary rock. In metamorphic terms, called a paranise. It's highly silicified. So the degree of silicification with the presence of pyrite and arsenic pyrite will indicate you that you are in a mineralized zone. Every time you see a bit of arsenopyrite, typically you know that you are in a mineralized zone. And that's also apparent on surface. When we do soil geochem, there's a good correlation between gold and arsenic. That helps. At the same time, we'll also have done geophysics, induced polarization surveys, which also indicate that we have zones that are well defined and characterized by the presence of sulfide and a fairly wide zone that is silicified. So yes, and to answer your question, in drill core, yes, we can easily identify where you are in a mineralized zone. We don't know what the grade is, obviously, but we know that you are in a mineralized zone.
And does the silicification go wider than is the silicification tight around the sulfides, or is there a wider silicified zone?
No, it's typically the highly silicious zone is the mineralized zone. It doesn't extend behind that. The contacts are pretty sharp.
And what signal does it give you on the IP? Because if you've got a silicified zone, it's resistive, and if you've got the sulfides, it's conductive. So if I was a rock, I'd be a little bit confused.
Yeah, but the sulfides, you get more sulfides in the mineralized zone, and it's highly silicified, so you get a good response. You get a good response, and you can trace that response for kilometers from the IP surveys that we do on survey.
And now that you've got your eye in, or your team has got the eye in on drilling these things, how far do you drill beyond the into the sedimentary package once you're up? Let's say you go through the volcanics contact zone with mineralization and then into the sedimentary package. How far do you typically go now before you think, okay, we're out of this, we'll save some money and stop the hole?
We can go sometime 100 meters or 200 meters. We have learned that also there is some mineralization, it's early days, that is contained in intrusive rocks. That's been found elsewhere in the James Bay area and some of the other projects. So we're testing that, and so we don't want to discard it. So we will go past the mineralized zone to make sure we don't miss anything. But as I say, we can predict where it is typically, and we're able to see it well on drill core. We do analyze the entire core, and we do that for multi-element. That helps also in our modeling.
And is there a kind of a linear relationship, rough linear relationship between the content of arsenopyrite, the amount of arsenopyrite, and the grade? So, for example, you haven't got all of your assays back from your summer drilling, but can you say, oh, these holes have got more arsenopyrite, and we expect these holes to be high grade than those ones?
Typically, the higher arsenopyrite, the higher gold. It's not a direct correlation, but in general terms, it's a very good correlation.
Yeah.
At La Pointe extension, we also observed that the arsenopyrite tends to be coarser, and we've had more, and that seems to correlate well with the amount of gold that we get.
And can you give me just kind of an indication of strike lengths and depths that you've drilled both at Point and at Point extension?
So La Pointe is about 950 meters strike extension, depth to 600 meters. At La Pointe extension, we've got, we believe, a total zone defined so far, because we believe, and the next IP survey result will show that we've got 3.5 kilometers and depth of 400 meters.
And average thickness? Roughly,
thickness, yeah, let's call it 20 meters at La Pointe, and let's call it about 50 meters at La Pointe extension. Okay.
So you could just kind of thinking off the top of my head, you wouldn't go down 600 meters in an open pit on a 20 meter, no. On a 20. No, so there'll be some crossover point either. Yeah. But with the 50 meter thickness, you could go down several hundred meters on an open pit, particularly if the grades are higher.
Exactly. No, you can. And that's why we're focusing most of our drilling on La Pointe extension to really better understand the open pit potential of that deposit.
And with the coarser grained arsenopyrite relative to La Pointe, are you seeing more higher grades in the extension to in the original?
So far we have seen so far we've seen higher grades, and we're, as we speak today, November 29th, we are focusing on that area where we've seen more arsenopyrite and better grades and greater thicknesses at depth.
Okay, interesting. How do you typically report your ongoing drilling? Do you batch things up into kind of numbers of holes, or do you wait until a drilling program?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we don't really do that, and we do that for a season. So it could be summer, it could be winter. If we have results that are really out of the ordinary, then we may release some holes separately. The big issue we've had here in Quebec is that the lab has been really busy and been slower in delivering results, so that has slowed down the exploration as a result. And part of that is related to the fact that they had lots of samples sent to them by various companies, various projects. Also, they had to implement COVID protocols. They've had issues recruiting people. And they had to train them. They had to bring them from elsewhere. So the backlog has been up to 8 weeks lately. So that has really has not helped us in getting timely results.
How's COVID affected the Cree community? Has that been a particularly traumatic interaction?
Well, they've been very prudent in their approach. In Quebec in 2020, exploration was shut down for 5 weeks. Then was restarted with the submission of protocols to the Cree Regional Authority, so to ensure that everyone is going to be safe while started to work in the area, including doing exploration. They mandate testing, obviously. They also basically minimize any contact between the communities, the Cree communities, and people working at projects. That's changing now, but they've been very successful in with containing COVID. The closest community where we are, Wiminji, until recently had no reported cases, and everyone has been safe. But they continue to be very careful in their approach with COVID.
Is there not a lot of local employment through the mineral exploration industry? Is that not a key part of the economy there?
Well, exploration in the mine itself. There's also Hydro-Quebec. Hydro-Quebec operates some large hydro dams there. They've been operating those since the 1970s. So, and the maintenance of the roads in the area is also a key activity. There is also tourism, not so much during the pandemic, but that's also an increasing source of revenue. But exploration is important for the area, and plus the mining activity. And they've had 3 agreements signed with the province of Quebec. One that goes back with the construction of those hydro dams in the 1970s, and they had 2 more. The last one is in 2020. And those agreements have been designed to foster economic development and the Cree benefits as a region. So they have become a semi-autonomous government with Cree and non-Cree working together to make this regional government operate well.
And does that mean that you've got the ability to have low-cost power, clean energy?
Yes. Power is cheap in Quebec, one of the cheapest in the world. And so you have availability of good power and good infrastructure. You can work 12 months of the year in the area.
Fantastic. Azimut in the area as well, aren't they? Someone was talking to me the other day about the potential, the James Bay area as hosting some tier 1 assets or potential tier 1 assets. You've mentioned Éléonore, but is Azimut, what's the name of their asset? And is that kind of a staging post?
ELMER in the Pat1 prospect is what Azimut has discovered in early 2020. And that they've got some very good drill results, and they've been drilling hard since then. Again, highlights the potential of high quality assets in James Bay. We have a project called ELMER East, just east of it, where we had been working on prior to that discovery. And we've added to our land position there. We've been doing some work. If you look at our disclosure, and we came up with our own discoveries there on surface, yet to be drilled. One called Lloyd and the other one called George Kish, which are named in honor of local Cree people. And we expect next year we're going to be doing some work to that whole area, which is south of Sakami and west-southwest of the mine, is also highly prospective and is very promising.
Yeah, I saw. I mean, some of the grades there were spectacular. The surface expression looked relatively compact. I could see it was kind of about 20 meters wide, but about kind of 8 meters long, but some superb grades, and obviously something to follow up on. But you're saying that, will you come to that in the summer of next year?
We hope to be there next year. We're going to be finalizing our interpretation of our program this year with it at ELMER East, and next year we should be in a position to drill. Okay.
But really, what you're effectively saying is that the focus for the next 6 months, in terms where the drills are turning, is La Pointe extension.
That's correct. That's really where the focus.
And I know you can't say what the grade is going to be, but what kind of range is it going to be in? From what you can, the evidence that you've got in terms of let's say you've hit 50 meters of average thickness. What's the kind of the average grade? Not a strict average, but you could say, it's 1 gram or 2 grams or 2.5 grams.
Between 1 and 1.5 grams is what we're shooting for
okay.
The resource at the La Pointe extension.
And have you done any petrographic work on it? Have you done any kind of indication
we have done that, plus we're doing metallurgical testing results, which should be disclosed hopefully before the end of the year. The petrographic work has been done, show that we have finally disseminated free gold. We also have some gold that's attached to arsenopyrite, not included, but attached to it. And the early result we got from the metallurgical recoveries done by 2 consultants that we're working with show recoveries which are 90-95%. So that's all very encouraging. Again, it will be fully disclosed when we have all that work completed.
And does Éléonore have an association with arsenopyrite and the gold as well?
It does, yeah. And in the region, that association is occurring in many places.
And how do they process it? Do they end up with an arsenic gold-rich concentrate that they send to a smelter,
No, they produce the final doré bars on site. The arsenopyrite is segregated from the gold.
Right. Okay. And then it's handled separately.
That's correct.
No roasters?
No.
And no bioleach?
No, I mean, we've been testing heap leaching. It has been done in Nordic region, so we've been doing some testing on that. And it remains a possibility, especially if you run an open pit operation. So that option remains to be explored further in the future.
Great. Thank you. Is there anything that I haven't covered that you want to get off your chest? Is there something you need to tell me?
Well, we've been, I think, quite successful at expanding the project at Sakami from La Pointe to La Pointe extension. We think we've got some very encouraging results. We believe we're going to get to our target of 2 million ounces, and there's a lot more to be found. We have a 23-kilometer favorable contact, and we've explored about 6 kilometers of it so far. So lots of promise in this region, and a great region to work in.
And how much of that, when you say you've explored only 6 kilometers, has the drilling extended for 6 kilometers? Have you got IP over the 23 kilometers? Have you got soil geochemistry over the 23 kilometers?
We've done some IP and some soils, and obviously quite a bit of prospecting over 23 kilometers. And some areas are covered by water. Some areas are swampy, difficult to do these surveys. So there are areas that still remains untested. Some drilling has been done on a couple prospects along the trend, along the contact, with some good results, some high-grade values. So there's still a lot to do. On the project.
Great. Well, for the time being, we'll keep an eye on the drill results coming out of La Pointe extension, and look forward to hearing how the summer exploration plans go for ELMER. That also sounds really interesting.
Very good.
Norman, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to speak with you.
I will look forward to keeping in contact with the company and seeing how you get on.
Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to speaking with you again.
Great.
Take care.